There are moments in a person's life when their training, talent, and heart are tested to the extreme. Jim Bates' finest hour was during the Battle of Cologne. For a veteran combat photographer, it was an opportunity to test all his skills as a soldier and as a photographer. It was his success in Cologne that earned him the Bronze Star.
The German tank is found and the T-26 hits its marks. The German tank is hit squarely, and as the gunner tries to escape, the second shell cuts off his leg. The driver and assistant clamber to escape as another shell is fired. Burning alive, the gunner lies over the edge of his coffin on wheels while his companions run for cover. And the concussion from the 90mm gun is so great, camera steadiness is impossible.
Cologne was the next, I imagine, the greatest part of my life. And still, of course, going across the valley, the whole bit was just one great long push and shove and push and shove. And when the Germans did give, why it was almost a job of catching up with them sometime. But when we got to Cologne, it was again another problem. The Germans had their back against the river, but around the Rhine River. And it was a long, long battle of street fighting. Constantly, they had plugged the underpasses over with Windlorstrassen, at Windlorstrassen with old street cars, and it was a completely different type of fighting now than it was in the woods and in the timber and out on the plains. Now it was a house-to-house thing. The tanks had to drive cover for the men. The men would sometimes have to go out and lead the tank through. By this time we had a new T-26, and the T-26 had a 90mm with a cuts compensator on the front of it. It was an amazing piece of machinery. It was heavily armored. It was just, it was a far cry. The Germans saw it really never lived to bring back the story, because that was it. They never lived long enough to take the story back as to what this tank was about. It was just so far ahead of the old Shermans that it was unbelievable. So the fellow, the commander of the T-26 says, Jimmy said, let's go down and see what we can see on that tank. And he says, I don't know what we're going to run into. We may never get back. But he said, let's see what we can do. So I said, okay. He said, if we can get there, it'll be a good place for pictures. I know. I said, well, I know. That's great. Let's do it. So we got back and went on the mezzanine of a building, and we could look right down, and there was the German tank right like a block away from us. And he said, now, I tell you what, he said, you get all ready for him. And he said, when you hear me coming up underneath you, you'll know where I am, that I'm there, and when I stop, I'm ready to fire. So the tank commander of the tank, knew very well, of course, of the T-47 left and went back up to his tank, and I sat there, and it seemed like it took forever and a day for them to get started, but of course they had to get all of the mathematics and everything set just exactly right, so they knew exactly what they were going to do in the very second that they stopped that tank. So I thought, well, I was just a little bit impatient, and I got out, and I think the German tank, the Tiger tank, saw me, because he started to turn his turret around, and about that time I heard the tank coming up, our T-26 coming up. And the very second that he stopped, I was shooting by that time. And in the film you can see the armor-piercing shell going through the bottom of the picture on the still shots. The first shot went in and cut the legs off of the tank commander in the Tiger. The second shot, and immediately the driver and the bow gunner, the trap doors flew open, and they climbed out, but a second shot the shrapnel had gotten them too. One fella fell over a bicycle that was laying there on the ground, the remains of an old bicycle, and he died right there. But the driver got around to the back side of a building, and he died there. The the gunner, the tank commander that had his legs cut off, of course, just laid on top of his tank and burned up right in front of the camera there. It was just unbelievable. That thing was burning even the next morning. After it was all over, there was still smoke coming out of it because it had so much ammunition and whatnot in it. It was just everything that could happen to me, photographically speaking, did happen that day. There was everything from street fighting to house-to-house fighting, everything that could happen, and consequently, it really was the crux of me getting a Bronze Star. That whole period of time that I worked with the 3rd Armored Division, they were so grateful for all of the coverage that I had given them. I hate to see the 3rd Armored Division going into fading away to nothing now, because that's one of the divisions out of Germany that's being banished right now, and they did such a beautiful job. General Rose was the head of the 3rd Armored Division, and the General Rose Hospital in Denver, the Veterans Hospital, is named after him.
A very tired and silent crew it was that dealt the death blow to the German tank, to help prove to a nation crazed with power that its men and cities could be dealt with in the same manner as it had previously dealt with Poland and Russia when the war was going its way. The tall spires of the Cologne Cathedral now mark only the grave of a dead and battle-torn city.